God, they got a long way to go.
Well, I'd like to suggest, despite the newspaper articles that you and I have read today, that we ought to let some more evidence get on the table before it's clear who is involved. Because making a premature determination indicates where you're going to want to point your response, and you better be sure you're aiming
but
right.
the Indian public opinion is there.
Katie, forgive me, but core issue, nonetheless, is right. Former members of the Pakistani intelligence and military services have, over a number of years, been involved in nefarious groups that are engaged in terror activities. But that's precisely the point I was trying to make earlier. If you don't begin to reverse public opinion and mobilize government action and create cooperation between Pakistan and India, you'll never get the effort off the ground. Sorry.
Yeah. No, my worry is that India is now in this position where the Indian government has been accused of being soft on terrorism to start with. And now this terrorist incident has happened, and there are some kind of nebulous links potentially to rogue elements of the Pakistani intelligence. So doesn't India then have to respond?
Well,
either mobilize, put troops on the border, do something?
Well, obviously, India's a vibrant democracy, and there's a lot of pressure. India's headed for a general election in April, probably of this coming year. So there's a huge amount of political pressure on the Indian government. A lot of rhetoric is built up. But I've also been impressed, despite the gravity of this event, the restraint that the Indians have shown. Over the last week, when they could have easily lost it, they have been very focused and very careful. Key ministers have lost their jobs. The Indians have admitted problems, but they have not tried to heat up the situation. They've been trying to find a way to manage it sensibly. And Secretary Rice coming in, to me, is a terrific indication of how the United States can play a constructive role. For she's, in effect, saying, you're not in this alone, India. The world's by your side. And that helps relieve some of the political pressure a government like India is under.
I thought it was interesting, and maybe it was UKT who pointed this out the other day, that in sending Admiral Mullen to Pakistan, a far more militaristic society where there are, senior generals in office and all of that, was a way to speak to them in their language. Just like sending Secretary Rice to India, a civilian, was a way of sort of better speaking to their language, a democratic language.
Well, I think Secretary Rice also carries terrific weight in Pakistan, that we look to the Pakistani state to live up to its word now and get serious about dealing with these incidents of terror.
How do we hold Pakistan's feet to the fire? One report indicated that a subtle message sent by Secretary Rice might be, okay, guys, get your acts together, start cracking down more on the terrorists here, or we might hold back some of your military funding.
Well, I personally think that's a dreadful idea. We Americans have played that game over the past 20 years of giving aid, taking aid away, and treating the man on the other side of the table as if he's some sort of commercial item that can be bought and sold. I think you've got a different... No.
No?
No,
From your experience, and I don't mean this to be a flip question, but other countries you don't think can be bought?
I don't think you buy and sell people. Not ancient societies with a point of view whose sense of respect and honor is very high. You've got to play for the political ground, and you can build influence by providing symbols of your support, economic symbols, military assistance symbols. That doesn't buy people. People are bought because their politics change, because they see a better way to get things done. And here I think we need to focus with the Pakistanis on the dangers they face. They had a former prime minister killed, the wife of the president. They have a raging rebellion. They have cities in dissidence. The terror that is affecting India affects them. And you have to try to work with their sense of vulnerability to build cooperation. We did a bit with Musharraf, But that needs to be continued with the new civilian government.
Okay, let me invite your emails here. If you have any emails for the ambassador or anybody else here on the panel, send them to us at strategyroom@foxnews.com. We're talking about the terror situation in India. Nearly a little more than 170 people killed just over a week ago in India. And India is actually on high alert today. Some concern, at least at the airports there, that another terror attack could be underway. Do we think that this is possible, that maybe the attacks last Wednesday were sort of a test run for something bigger?
Well, I think if you look back over the past couple of years, you've seen a pattern of terror from different sources breaking out in different parts of India, starting with the attack on Parliament at the beginning of the decade, bombs going off most recently in September in Delhi, in the city of Jaipur, in the northeast. You've had a pattern of terror, and it isn't going to end. There are going to be more incidents of terror. Not all come from the same cause. India's a big country, 1 billion people, size of Europe. But India's in for a long, long, long and difficult passage. And we are going to see more terror. That's why I believe, as the new president comes into office in this country, a primary way we in India can work together in the new relationship we've been developing is to give terror, counter-terror, a real pride of place and have good cooperation, intelligence exchanges, and working together on techniques to control terror. It's a very promising front in our relationship.
Okay, let's pause this conversation for 1 minute. We're going to go to our reporter who's coming to us. Oh, okay. We'll do that in just a minute. But sometimes we report here. It's the holiday season, of course. And always kind of crazy things crop up just before Christmas. And our Dan Springer is going to bring us a story in just a minute about a sign that's been put up by an atheist group in the state capitol. And if you look at the state capitol, and I think we have a picture of it, I'll try to get Kevin to pull it up when he gets off the phone there. But if you look at a picture of its state capitol, you'll see on one side a nativity scene. On the other side of the Capitol, you will see this sign that's been put up by a Madison, Wisconsin group that is very upsetting to a lot of Christians there. So we're going to talk. Dan Springer is going to bring us a story about that. Now, you may remember a few weeks ago we told you a story about another atheist group that took out some bus ads in Washington, D.C. The same group took out some bus ads and billboard ads in London and in Madison, Wisconsin, saying, you know, there probably is no God, so why worry about it? Is Dan up and ready yet? Nope, we don't have him up and ready yet. Oh, he is. Okay. So let's go to Dan Springer, and Dan Springer can tell us himself about this story coming out of Washington State. Hi there, Dan.
Yeah, hey, Heather. I was there yesterday at the Capitol, and I got to tell you, this is pretty hard to imagine. You're sitting there in the rotunda of the state capitol in Olympia, Washington, and you've got this very nice, tastefully done nativity scene on the third floor, just one floor above the governor's office, by the way. And then you have a statue of George Washington, father of our country, beautiful bronze statue, namesake of Washington State. And then you go another couple of feet and you've got this sign. It's basically 5 feet tall by 2 feet wide. And it says, and I'm going to read it exactly, all this, at this season of the winter solstice, may reason prevail. There are no gods, no devils, no angels, no heaven or hell. There is only our natural world. Religion is but myth and superstition that hardens hearts and enslaves minds. Now, the way that this thing is allowed to be placed there, according to the state of Washington, is that this is classified as a religious display that goes with other religious displays in the rotunda of the Capitol. I asked the people at the state, how can you call this religious when it's attacking religion? They say, well, we can't really discriminate against any message. So any message goes, apparently, at the rotunda of the state capitol, and it's really upset a lot of people. We were in the governor's office yesterday. She would not talk to us. They issued a very generic statement saying that this is a free speech issue and that they can't discriminate. However, they have been getting flooded with phone calls. We were there, and we saw the phone lines jammed, 2 receptionists on the phone nonstop with people calling, complaining about this. They were admitting that they got about 200 calls an hour plus emails. So it's really riled up some people here that this was allowed not only in the Capitol, but also just a few feet away from the nativity scene. Heather?
So, Dan, what happens next?